So healing through spirituality. This is gonna be a topic that basically surrounds everything that I do. Everything I do really comes back down to healing. And a lot of people are walking around today not knowing enough about healing, and it actually takes a lot away from your spiritual evolution. Okay, it takes not healing or not knowing, basically unconsciousness is going to take a lot away from you being able to connect deeper to yourself, and also you being able to live life to in terms of like to the fullest. Okay, so I like to define healing as an awakening to who you truly are. I think of it as as I was reading through my journey as a spiritual healer, I've understood that healing is really just enlightenment, or it's kind of a byproduct of enlightenment. The more you get to know yourself, the more you heal. So the more you awaken to yourself, the more you connect to a higher version of yourself, and you get closer and closer to this more whole harmonious being. And the key word being harmony, because the more harmonious you are within yourself, the more conscious you are also within yourself. It's all about balance. Health is all about balance, and I'm going to come back to this idea because balance, not only physically but also mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Okay, now, unconsciousness is the problem, okay? This is something that I want a lot of people to understand, because people don't really understand that unconsciousness is really at the root of everything. If you don't see or understand the role that unconsciousness plays in terms of healing, you will miss out really on a lot of time. You're actually going to waste a lot of time. You're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities for you to actually evolve faster. This is kind of the thing. We want to be efficient, and we want to get moving and progressing much more faster. So if we get to the root, which is unconsciousness, we're gonna heal a lot faster. Okay, so that's important for you to understand. All right, so energy blocks. This is something that a lot of people talk about in the spiritual community. When they're talking about basically my chakras are blocked, or my my basically mostly around chakras. And this is okay because it's not too far off from the truth. And really, um the way I understand uh how chakras work is that chakras are really just an energy field, right? It's an energy field, and we have a bunch of them. They're like vortices, or like little vortexes that we have in our body. And when they're not operating as efficiently, it really leads to a deficiency in your being, a deficiency in terms of both intake, in terms of perception, and also output, which is expression. So the more blocks you have in your body, the harder it is for you to express yourself, and the harder it is for you to attract positive energy into your own self. Okay. Now, energy blocks are usually caused by negative belief systems or emotional blocks. So these things are very common. Before my healing journey, or before becoming a healer, I had a big emphasis on belief systems and the mental blocks that we have. We grow up, we think about things in a certain way due to the environment and conditioning around us. And because of these belief systems, we end up usually filtering life through this system. And because the system isn't efficient, it's not at 100% connected to truth, connected to source. It actually leads to this filtration process that does not allow for us to consume or basically connect with life at the highest level, at the most efficient level. So people have always talked a lot. There's a lot about mindset coaching, belief systems, just the conditioning that we grow up with. There's a lot of that because people are just waking up to that. I think people did not understand, and they still don't understand just how bad, or just how much your mental perception affects your physical health, and it affects also your emotional health. Now, this is kind of like a top tier list, I'd say. is the mental realm. I feel like if you're able to work on your psychology, and this channel is mainly about psychology, but if you're able to work mostly on your psychology, most of the rest of the things will follow. If you connect to spirituality and to your psychology at a deeper, more intimate level, where you are able to use this knowledge to basically reframe who you are, to reconfigure who you are, to create a new you, then you will automatically filter life in a way that is much more effective and much more efficient. Now, if we talk about emotional blocks, this is a little new in terms of my own world. This is something that I just started learning, and it's something that I've actually noticed is big. But me as a in my own journey, I didn't really have that big of an issue with emotional blocks because I was also always very active. If I wasn't working out, I was playing some sport. And if I wasn't playing some sport, I was dancing. So emotionally, I was very expressive. So a lot of the emotional blocks that I carried, I feel like were not that big of a hindrance because I was working on my physical side also. But there is this aspect of myself that I'm seeing a lot in terms of as me being a healer, is that people are not tapping in or are aware of the emotions. They're not aware of their own emotions. So let's talk about emotions then. The emotional block is actually something that happens when you become overwhelmed, emotionally. So an event happens in your life, you become overwhelmed, it becomes too much for you to handle. And so what does your subconscious do? Your subconscious, in order to protect you and to allow for you to kind of handle it a little bit better later on, it keeps those emotions trapped in the body. Emotions usually get worked through once they're expressed and once they're understood, but that becomes a little hard when when you carry when you have just so much or overwhelmed, when you just become overwhelmed. So the more emotions you have, the harder it is for you to get through them. So there's this component of the subconscious that is supposed to be about survival. It protects us, it helps us deal with it, so it traps it in the body, it stores it there so that we can deal with it later. um and it's doing that, and that's just a way for the subconscious to protect you. If you have a heartache, you don't want to be feeling that pain all the time, but you still have it stored somewhere. It's in the unconscious, it's in your body. Um so we just act like it's not there, right? And that's the issue. Instead of us understanding that these emotional things are still needing to be worked on, we actually push them away, or we act like we're good, and we continue with our lives and we make our decisions based off, guess what? Our emotions. So you have all of these blocks, and you're not aware of the subconscious of how it operates, and then you go out into your life and you create this life, these decisions based off the emotions that you're carrying, not based off clear perception. Why? Because your emotions are also affecting your perception. So the more you carry, the harder it is for you to see the truth. So what we need to do is come back, understand that the unconscious just did something. And it did something very useful because it stored it so that we can work on it later. And now we need to come back, open, introspect, and open ourselves up to those emotions that we've been carrying. And these trapped emotions carry insights within them. So the more we look into them, the more we learn about ourselves, and the clearer of a perception we're able to create for us to make better decisions in our lives. Now, this is also connected to the filtration process, um, in terms of the mental realm, in terms of your belief systems. Um, when you're carrying emotions, when you're carrying energy blocks, your body is at a certain state of frequency. So, if you carry a lot of trapped emotions and some negative thing happens, because you're already in resonance with that frequency, you're going to actually be affected more by that negative event. So, if you carry heartache and you listen to a song that is all about heartache, you're going to feel that emotion well up within you, and it will come to the surface. And the thing is, though, that music and all these things that we use to, express ourselves. They're meant to help us work through our emotions. But people don't understand that, so they come to the surface, and then we think it's just a thing that we carry that is normal about life. It's normal to be to feeling chronically, ill. Well, not chronically ill. Let's say it's normal to feel emotionally distressed. It's normal to feel stressed out. And it becomes this thing that this is our normal state of balance. This is our normal state of resonance, and so we don't question the emotions. We don't question the state that we're in. And so you can imagine just how much this is going to affect your life when you're going through your life, and negative events affect you. You resonate more with negative events than you do with positive events. Just think about that, because you attract what you are. And this makes a lot of sense. If you are carrying a lot of negative emotions in your body, you're going to attract more of that negativity. Not just because of, law of attraction, but also because you are just attracted to that yourself. You are more attracted to the negative things because in a way you see something there that is you. So if for example, the ideal state being in complete balance, being in complete balance means being able to see, intake what's coming through, but also not let it drag you down. Ideal the ideal human being, or the ideal human body, is supposed to be, we're a filter for for life to come through us and to come out much more positively enhanced, much more spiritually enhanced, just much more balanced. We are the midway point between what comes in and what goes out, right? And so the more we focus on this filtration process of, adjusting, fine tuning our belief systems, and letting go of those emotional blocks and working through whatever is going on in our lives, the better we become at transforming and transmuting the situations that come into our lives. So then, now, obviously, coming back to the negative aspect of it, if you carry enough negative emotions in your body for a long enough time, it might not be for 1 year, it might not be for 2 years, it might not be for 5 years, maybe in 10 years down the line, you start getting a little pain. You start carrying, you start having, high blood pressure. You start having more stress. You might gain some weight. You might feel some back pain. You might feel some ache in your body. You might think this is you just getting old, but maybe, just maybe, this actually has to do with something which is not really which is not connected physically in the sense that, the aging process, but it's more so connected to your emotions and to your mental, into your belief systems. So this is something that people don't understand, that, the things that you carry within you are legitimate things. As a practitioner, as a holistic healer, I've understood that this energy block is a physical thing. It's almost like a physical thing. A trapped emotion is the size of your hand. It's the size of a fist. So if you are carrying this around you, you're gonna affect your organs. Because certain organs emit certain emotions, so they get trapped on those organs, and so they don't function as properly. And so everything is affected. At the emotional level. The emotional level is going to affect the physical level. And if you're not paying attention to your emotions, it's going to lead to much more physical distress. When in truth, the physical distress is actually just a byproduct of an emotional distress or even a mental distress. So the most common thing is going to be the heart wall. I think this is something that I just started learning from the Emotion Code. It's a book that I picked up. I actually got it from my girlfriend, but then I started reading it because I saw how connected it was with what I already do as a healer, and it helped me understand much more how emotions work. And one of the things that I've seen working with my clients, working with and just learning about this, the heart wall is a very interesting thing. So the heart wall is actually, you can almost define it as this like physical. It's like this energetic barrier that we create around our hearts. So if you were to look at people in the world, at least talking for myself, before I started doing all the healing and all the spiritual work that I did, I was actually very numb emotionally, and I would feel alone. I would feel very isolated, and so you know, I wouldn't really cry during movies. I wouldn't really cry. I hated crying just in general. And then I also just found it very hard to get into the negative feelings, negative emotions, in terms like I didn't want to get into them. So instead of feeling them, I would actually numb myself from them. And that actually is kind of like a disconnection from your heart, because your heart is actually the center. It's a very strong center of emotions. There's actually neurons, connected to your heart. um it's like a brain within itself. Okay, so if we start creating this barrier around our hearts, this usually happens due to conditioning. It's just a natural byproduct for me. Men don't cry. Men have to be manly. Men manly. I have to be manly. I don't cry. I have to be stoic. And this is kind of part of the conditioning. Like if I don't feel my heart, then I don't have to cry. And that's what a lot of people do nowadays. After a breakup, it's kind of the most common thing. When is a heart wall created? It's usually it's also a heart wall is really just a buildup of all the negative or blocked emotions that you carried. But now your subconscious is using it to protect your heart. So, for example, a heart wall can come through after a breakup. It can come through after losing somebody, or it could come through just some negative event, strong event that's really connected to your heart, because your heart is in pain. You're feeling pain, and because it's so overwhelming, you can't deal with it right now. Maybe you were young, maybe you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, and you didn't have the emotional intelligence that you might have now, and your subconscious said, "Okay, we need to protect this being. We can't have this person being overwhelmed, just constantly in pain. So we're gonna put that on pause. We're gonna store it over here, and we're gonna protect that heart. So once that person is ready, we can release it. But if we have it for so long, we end up we're disconnected from our hearts. So, for example, we have these things that happen. We have a feeling of isolation. We have it's easier to feel negative emotions. It's harder to feel positive emotions. We feel like an outsider. There are physical effects. We have lowered immunity. Why? Because the heart is your source of vitality. If you're disconnected from your heart, you are disconnected or in some way hindering your health. And then you can also have neck pain, shoulder pain. It all comes, the physical body is kind of just an expression of an emotional situation. So these things happen normally. Now, one thing that I found interesting is that your heart kind of sends the signals to all of your organs. Because your heart pumps the blood. It pumps everything. If your heart is gone, you don't survive. We can still survive without half of our brain. We need is the limbic system, but if we don't have a heart, we are not going to live. So the heart, just like it is in the physical, it also is in the emotional, in the sense that the heart sends signals out to your organs, and those signals become distorted once there is this wall. It's hard to send clear signals when you're having a distorted field there. Excuse me. So then what ends up happening is you have a heart wall, and then your emotions, your organs are not getting the clear signals from your heart, from your source of vitality. And so then you end up having all of these physical effects, and that's basically how it happens. Your liver isn't as functioning as well, your stomach isn't functioning as well. People, for example, like um, my girlfriend would always have these stomach pains, stomach ache, uh, and the pain usually, which is if it's like a chronic thing. Usually, if you go to the doctor and the doctor says you're good, they give you some pills and tell you to go home. Um, well, we're not understanding that pain that keeps coming back and really doesn't have a source to it in terms of the physical realm, really is coming from in a deeper issue. Maybe something happened when you're younger, and this all connects back to psychology in a way, because as I was working through my own psychology, I was reflecting, going back into my childhood, meditating on the things and traumas that I experienced, or the energy blocks that I was carrying. Even though I wasn't doing it consciously, when I was reflecting, introspecting, that's what I was doing. I was coming back and understanding, becoming more conscious of what happened to me and how I created this wall within my heart. And the more I did that, the more I was able to feel a sense of joy for life, because I I would start tearing up in a movie. And why would that happen? I'm like 18 years old, 19 years old, and that hadn't never happened to me, and now I'm doing it, and I feel like a baby. And how does this happen? Well, it's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of the psychology. I worked on my trauma. I worked on my blocks. I don't really like saying the word trauma. I think it's a trigger word. I don't really. It's kind of a, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a thing for me. I'd rather just say my energy blocks. But I was working on those things, during my meditations, during my shadow work, and after opening my heart wall, I feel like I've had my heart wall open for a while now, at least like 2 years. But I feel like that is a natural byproduct. You start opening yourself up, you start getting more sensitive, you become more open to feeling emotions. And this is what I see with people in general. People who start awakening to themselves, they find it easier to just express how they feel. When you let go of that, when you release that heart wall, you begin to, you do become more sensitive, you do become more in tune to your intuition. um and I think you just get a deeper sense of, exactly, a fuller understanding or a fuller feeling of life. And but let's see what's next in the presentation, because I think that's what I'm going to go about doing. um so then, in summary, I think something that I want people to really reconsider, something that I want people to think about in terms of, let's reframe the idea that we have around this disease. I say disease, but a lot in the spiritual community, people say this ease, because the fact that it's really just a this ease. You're not feeling at ease. um but discomfort is really a gift. I think that if people could stop for a second, if they're walking through their life, I understand that we live in a very busy time, and I understand that, we're constantly trying to do something, get somewhere. But if people were to just look at the pain that they're experiencing, for example, there's a lot of people that have sleeping problems. I hear it all the time, like I can't fall asleep, I have insomnia. Or there's people that have just like stomach problems. Oh, my stomach aches, or oh, my chest hurts. Oh, my shoulder is feeling a little weird right now. Maybe all these things are actually these discomforts are actually a sign from your body telling you that you're carrying something that you need to work through. If you don't do it, it's going to keep persisting. And the thing is, we really, instead of understanding this, and this is really just a problem of not being aware. If you don't understand that pain is actually a positive signal, some people can understand that from the physical point, which is like, oh, I just cut like I just got cut. I'm bleeding. I'm in pain. I need to pay attention to what's happening. We can all do that in the physical realm. Okay, I'm gonna put some alcohol. I'm gonna put a band-aid. I'm gonna clean myself up. I'm gonna be more aware next time if I use the knife and that's how it happened. But we don't do that with our emotions and with our mental health. We need to start understanding that the physical discomfort that we experience, or even the emotional or the mental discomfort, is actually just a sign from your body telling you that you are not in harmony. And it's a gift. It really is a gift, because most of the time that I've transformed, what have been the most painful times. The hardest times have been the most transformational. And I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here, because I like explaining astrology. So this is kind of like the Scorpio part of astrology. Scorpio is all about transmutation, transformation. It's a very kind of like negative sign, very scary sign, ominous. Very connected to death. Um, so the more, so if we look at Scorpio and we try to understand the lesson that comes from it, is that there's a lot of pain, there's death, there's um, you know illness in transformation. But it's transformation. Is you're not you experience these like growing pains, because you're being led somewhere else. So let's talk about that emotional guidance system, because that is what it really is. And this is kind of something that I picked up from Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks is I think you guys already know. Just look her up, look him up. Kind of like a weird it's a lady who's channeling a higher being basically. But Abraham Hicks talks about the emotional guidance system. And that is really what this is. Discomfort is an emotional guidance system. If you feel emotionally distressed, that is your sign for you to understand that you are now on the negative pole of the balance. You're now on the negative side. If you bring awareness to that and you try to understand and see what is actually wrong, then you can gain a deeper insight in terms of what's going on in your life so you can come back into balance and proceed. Okay, so pain, discomfort guide you towards a better you, because whenever you experience that, you know you might not be going in the right direction, or maybe you took the wrong turn. So now if we can readjust, you'll learn from that, and then now move forward. Sometimes you got to take one step back to take two forward. Okay, and that's something that people need to understand, that emotions are just the same. They really do apply to that. I just see it kind of like even in business. Sometimes you gotta stay back a little bit, work on something so that you can output much more later on. So then negative emotions really just seek resolution and completion, and we need to redefine exactly how we need to redefine emotions. We need to understand what is our relationship with emotions. Why do we have to be so afraid of feeling? What is the meaning that we associate with going through and trying to understand our emotions? Because right now, obviously, I think now in the world that I live in, I've kind of just adjusted to me always talking about how I feel, me always saying, it's still a process, but I think it's kind of like the standard now for me, where I have to when I talk to people, I say how I feel. I give my gratitude. I try to be as honest as possible. But that isn't the same in the world around me. Not everybody can really express themselves emotionally. And so there's two things that really contribute to this understanding. You need to gain emotional intelligence if you want to change your relationship, transform, and actually use emotions to your benefit. You have to gain emotional intelligence. And the emotional intelligence comes from understanding that, it really life, and this is the second part kind of, that life is really just about resolution and completion. We're always going through cycles, we're always moving through certain patterns. But if we're able to understand the patterns and also complete the cycle, then we will actually move up into another cycle. And now, this cycle, though, is much greater, much more efficient, much more effective, much more rewarding, much more meaningful, much more fulfilling. So this is the thing. If we need to redefine it, and we need to be more emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is probably going to be one of the greatest resources or the greatest skills that you could develop in your life. And that just goes to say for anything. Okay, I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about business. I'm talking about career. I'm talking about just expressing yourself like, anywhere that you go. If you are a more emotionally intelligent being, you are going to take more out of life, because it does so many things for you. When you understand your negative emotions, you understand it in somebody else. And sometimes people don't know how to react to their negative emotions, but if you do, you can help them. And guess what? Now they like you 10 times more. But it's not even the sense of like, hey, let me help you. uh you know for example, I was a server, right? And being an emotionally intelligent person helped me to see what a client needed. I mean, what at least what a guest needed. That's what my manager would tell me. I had to call them, but what my guests needed. Sometimes if a person says, this food is trash, um, I'm not gonna say, the feeling is actually I'm not satisfied. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It doesn't have anything to do with the way I was serving, or maybe it did. But if they tell me that the food is trash, then I have to go and tackle that emotion, that feeling, which is I'm not satisfied. So, or I am disgusted. But me understanding that help me get straight to the point and help my guest feel a lot better and enjoy their meal so much more. So naturally, I would get more tips. I was, you know, I had a good time with my managers. I didn't hate going to work. I hated, not being able to work on my business, but I didn't hate going to work because I actually enjoyed the interactions that I had. And that's just one small example. But as an emotionally intelligent person, I'm gonna tell you another thing that that really I'm gonna check what's next because I want to see something. That's good. That's good. As an emotionally intelligent person, really, there's the blocks that you carry, the energy balls that you have around your body, excuse me, the emotions that you still haven't worked through are still around you. You're still carrying that within you. So becoming more emotionally intelligent really comes down to being able to cut every single emotion, like the attachment that you have with every single one. Because there's times that people have so much uh blocks and so much noise in their system, in their body, in their aura, that once they just trigger one emotion, that leads to another one. And that one triggers this next one. And then that one just triggered this other thought, which then triggers this other emotion. And so you go on this tangent, on this whole loop that you yourself have created, and it becomes so hard to even understand how you feel. I see this so many times where I ask somebody, so how are you feeling? Or are you gonna say anything? And the person just says, I don't know what to say. I don't know how I feel because the emotional intelligence isn't there. Your ability to cut each emotion up and to detach it from the other ones is something that you have to learn. It's a skill that you have to develop. And the when you are able to do that, you become so much better at stopping the negative beliefs and the negative patterns and the negative decisions, because now that one feeling of anger is now isolated. We just took that anger, took it away from all these other feelings of insecurity and all these other feelings of low self-esteem or whatever, and now we're just angry though. And that's all we need to do. All we need to work on is anger. Bam. Okay, worked on it. And if something else comes up, another trigger comes up, bam. Okay, we caught the emotion, we isolated it, and now we worked through it. We got the insight. We got a little more emotionally intelligent, and now we can go use that on the next ones. And you go on and on and on until you feel, until you clear yourself up. And so some things that I've noticed that do affect this, that do hinder your emotional intelligence or your ability, at least I think so. Yeah, something that does hinder your emotional intelligence is drug use. If you use drugs to deal with your emotions, you're really just building up that reservoir of negativity. So the more you use drugs to kind of like numb yourself, to detach, to run away from your emotions, the more negativity you're gonna have to work on later. And not only that, the more negativity you're carrying on to yourself, because that's actual space that's being built up in your system, and that is also affecting your perception. So that's something that I don't know if anybody, if you're watching me, I doubt you're using drugs to run away from your problems because you're here. Um but yeah, that's just one thing that I've learned. So this is basically kind of what we talked about. Your emotions build up. They stick to each other through a chain of reactions. One thought triggers an emotion, and then triggers another thought and an emotion, and so on. The more emotional baggage you have, the harder it becomes to deal with life circumstances. Um, and that's just that's just the thing, because it's almost like if you were to imagine yourself, I like to think of it as a metaphor where if you carry a lot of negativity around you and you only have a certain amount of space, a certain amount of, I like to think of it as a muscle. Your resiliency is very dependent on how much clarity of mind that you have. So now, if you have all this emotional baggage that you're carrying, your clarity goes away. It just gets so messed up. Okay, it gets messed up in the sense that it becomes very hard for you to deal with one situation at a time. Instead of it being about this one situation, it becomes about all the other ones. And you see this all the time in relationships. Like I did this, um, or you did that, and then you also did this that one time, and then the other time, and then we go back to years, months ago, of a situation that happened months ago, because we're still carrying that emotional baggage. So instead of it being about this, I don't know, your husband leaving the toilet seat up, it becomes about you wanting to get divorced because you're tired of your husband. And the small situation just turned into this large scale thing, and it doesn't have to be like that. But the problem is, it's also not your husband's fault that you have this emotional baggage. You know what I mean? We all have our emotions that we need to deal with, and if we understand this, that we carry this emotional baggage, and it messes with our perception, we can start to create change. So that's what I'm talking about, emotional intelligence. You want to get to the point where the emotion guides you to identify the negative thought pattern. Now your emotions become your friends. Now you start developing a different relationship with your emotions. You start to see them as signals from your body, messages from your body, ways for you to understand yourself at a deeper level. Um, and once you get there, once you get that to the negative thought pattern, you're able to challenge that thought and begin to make room for another life. Okay, so we have a lot of work to be done, but it really becomes something that it just as it is, with emotional baggage, that it turns into a chain reaction. The chain reaction is also can be positive in the sense that, okay, so this emotion led to that one thought, okay, and then I identified that one thought. How did how Where did this thought come from? Um, did it come from myself? Was it created as a defense? Was it instilled in me from somebody else? Is this thought helping me out? How did it help me out? You know, um, and I guess I could let me give you kind of the process that I go through when I'm thinking about how I can change a negative thought pattern. So let me first say that I say negative, not bad, or if I use bad, I'm usually meaning negative, because life is really about positive and negative. And if we start putting, labeling it as bad, then we have this notion that it's not good, and we should push it away, or we should really just um demonize it. But the thought that you have is the thought that served you up to this point, because if you have it right now and you survive this long being where you're at, it served you at some point. Okay, so you know our subconscious, like, we if we don't, we're carrying something for a reason, you know what I mean? So if you have this thought that you're carrying for a while, um then it served you at one point, and there's a reason that you did it. So that's the first thing you need to understand. It's not so much that it's bad, it's more so that it's just negative, or it's not helping you as much. So let's reflect, right? The process of introspection is, I'm gonna go and I have found, I go through the emotional work, or I go through the shadow work, and I found one thought pattern that has been affecting me for so long. Any questions? If you have any, just disconnected, having connectivity issues. Sorry guys, just had a little connectivity issue, but yeah, that's basically the process. Once you identify the thought, you understand the thought, how it came to be, why it came to be, and then ask yourself whether it serves you anymore, and what you can do differently now. Okay. Hey, what's up, Karin? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Uh, Great to see you here. I know you missed the last two. I'm actually very happy that you're here. Just let me know if you have any questions, okay? And I hope you're finding this helpful too. So appreciate you. Um, so now, that's basically what I was talking about: meditation and reflection. For me, it was a normal thing. I thought that reflection was just something that everybody did, but it's not actually. It's something that I had to pick up, that I had to realize on my own, that I would usually sit down and just think about life a lot, and And I think this really helped me out to develop my emotional intelligence. So meditation and reflection, those are the two greatest things you can um, start learning about to gain emotional intelligence. Okay, so meditation, it points to the source. So I guess meditation has many benefits in the way I can describe in terms of emotion, how it benefits emotional intelligence is that it gives you the focus that you need to be able to actually cut through all the noise surrounding you and get to the source of the actual emotion. So you're able to break it down in meaningful pieces for you to reconstruct. I kind of like that. Let me try to say that again because I got lost in that. So meditation gives you the focus that you need in order for you to cut to the source, cut off all the noise from that one thing you're trying to focus on, in this case being your emotions. And it gives you that focus so that you can break it down into meaningful chunks that you can then reorganize, restructure in your brain or restructure in your mind so that it can later on benefit you and bring much more meaning into your life also. Much more meaning and much more fulfillment. And so you become more skillful and you that's just like one of the greatest things you can have for your spiritual evolution. Start meditating the way it happened for me. Kind of how I experienced the benefit was sometimes things would just come up, because I would be connected to my subconscious, and the subconscious would speak to me. My subconscious will come into my awareness because I would go so deep into the meditation that I'd go and reach a point of communication with my subconscious, and emotions will arise. Past lives would actually arise. Um, Precognitions, all those weird intuitive psychic things, they happen because I was connected to my subconscious, and because I got to a point in my meditations, I got so skillful at my meditations that I was able to go down there. And so when I get there and I'm seeing these emotions come up, these past lives or these things just rise up into my awareness, then I would understand a little bit more about myself. And I would understand a little bit more about my soul. I would understand a little bit more about my journey. And then I would also, if they came from my unconscious, they probably weren't that integrated. But now, because I'm aware of them, I could put them in the place that they need to be, so that it brings me more meaning and it brings me more joy. Okay, and I guess some interesting things. The past life one was pretty interesting. Um, and I guess emotionally, I talked about it in one of my videos. Also, I asked my body for what I needed because I was having muscle aches, and they told me I needed magnesium. And then there's also the emotional part, which is sometimes you just start crying, or you start laughing out of nowhere, start feeling joyful, during a meditation. You might think you're going crazy, but you're not. It's just your subconscious bringing up all those emotions. And then and then also reflection. I think, I don't know, I really love reflection. I love the fact that I can sit down and I can journal and reflect upon my life. And I think there's a few things. I mean, people talk about it all the time. Like I would watch it on YouTube. Would always like YouTubers would always talk about journaling, and I was doing it because of I got really inspired by one book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and I found it very fascinating that he actually thought a lot like me, or I thought a lot like him, and the way he would think and just think about life. He was a Stoic philosopher, so it was very like very not he was very detached, very to the point. He just saw life as this thing that we came here to work and we came here to serve each other, and we're all part of this. We're all connected. We're all and our job here is not really to delve too much into the passions and like lust, the desires, but rather to build a value system, to create virtue, and then to go out into the world and serve people. that's kind of like the idea, the things I would think about a lot, because I would often find myself not wanting to do things just for the heck of it, just for the pleasure. Because every time I would do it, I would also regret it somewhat, or there'd be some negativity attached to it. And I think I just through these reflections and through that resonance that I found with Marcus Aurelius, I just understood that the importance of reflection is that if you don't look back and if you don't look into your experiences, you are not able to take out the best out of them. You're not able to take out wisdom. Reflection is the actual inner work of deciphering wisdom from your experiences. And the process is very, I guess it takes time, but for me, it was kind of like, what does everything mean to me? Because if I go through my day and I reflect on the people that I have around me, the things I did, the reasons why I did them, what I would like to do next, if I start doing that, the wisdom just comes through, and this is something that I think it brings so much more meaning to my life, because there's times where you do things and you don't know why you do them. And a lot of people live their life like that. They live their life saying, I want to do this because I don't know, I'm just gonna do it. And it's probably somebody because I have so much. I don't know. Like I understand. The pressure comes from trying to serve other people or trying to be somebody that you're not. Um, for me, it really was about trying to be somebody that I'm not, trying to conform to, the conditioning that I have to conform to. And um and so, just being able to reflect on things, and then, asking myself, well, what does this actually mean to me? I think, I guess now I really feel that, because, being in the place that I was at, you don't you find it very hard to keep going if you don't understand why you do the things that you do, and if you don't understand what they actually bring to you. Because, going to school or having a friendship or going out or reading or watching a video, for example, all these things are just um things sometimes people do just to do. But then if you look back and you ask yourself why, then you start to bring a whole different dimension into your awareness of your own personality. You get to know yourself. You get to know your soul. Because sometimes, your soul kind of pushes you to do things unconsciously, pushes you to act in a certain way that you normally wouldn't want to do, or maybe you act out of ignorance. But then through that ignorance, and through reflection especially, you're able to connect to your soul. Sometimes you have to get lost in order to find yourself again. And the reflection part of it for me has always been big. And I might just do a whole video on this. Like, I really like talking about it. But in general, mm, if we were to just talk about, I mean, not in general, specifically about emotions, it brings a lot. If you reflect on your emotions, that's another way to increase your emotional intelligence. You're able to understand what emotions mean to you. If you look back at your day and you ask, what were the times that I felt emotional, and then ask yourself, why did I feel emotional? Where did it come from? What does it mean? Really sit with it. What are my emotions trying to tell me? Really just ask yourself, because the answer comes when you ask the question. And that's something that people don't even, think about. But yeah, that's how life works. In the Bible, I think in the Bible says it itself, like, ask and you shall receive. And my unconscious told me myself too, in a dream, if you're not gonna get something if you don't ask. And um reflection is really a conversation with your unconscious. So make sure to ask, okay? Let me know if you have any questions. I got more people coming in. Let me know where you guys are coming from. I'm actually having a really good time doing this for you guys. This is my third time doing it in the month, and it's actually been a good time. I'm excited for what's to come. Let me know any questions you got. Let me see what's next. I don't know if I think we're done. No, we're not done. All right. So the byproduct of healing. Um, I think I've already mentioned this, but if you heal, you know, you gain a clarity of thought, clarity of mind. You understand why your emotions are the way they are. and you kind of understand what they're there for. You get intuitive guidance. Kind of mentioned that with meditation, but the more you heal, the more connected you are to yourself, and that means also, more psychic abilities, which is really that's the increase in ESP, extra sensory perception. That shit's real. Like I don't mention it too much because um it's not that important because you yourself will see it's a byproduct of the work that you do. But there's also the feeling of connectedness, feeling connected to life, feeling more connected to people, but more importantly, feeling more connected to yourself. So that's that's just a great beautiful thing that comes from healing. And then also you become more open to love and opportunity. And I've seen it with myself. I've been helping out my friends, my house, my roommates, my family. It's just, there's just me doing the work, the uh, um as a holistic healer. Oh, and if you guys are interested, by the way, make sure I'm going to leave the link down below so that you can book a call with me if you're interested in a healing session. But if you if you are feeling a little lost, a little blocked emotionally, make sure to hit me up, and I could see and we could talk about how I can help you. Just book a call. I'll leave the link to my website down below. But yeah, so basically what I've seen with my family is um you experience this opening of your heart to the world, to um to opportunities. It's interesting because my mom, she one of the it's been great seeing and hearing from her, like, through her own journey. But she would think she called me one time telling me about how her perspective changed because after a while of going to therapy, she said that she started asking herself questions in terms of for herself instead of for her children, or for, like, it was from this more wider perspective. And it's a beautiful thing to hear, because then you start to ask yourself questions that you never asked yourself. What could life look like if I gave it my best, or what do I need right now? What does my body need? What does my mind need? What does my heart need? What is the ideal? What is the best version of myself? How do I get there? Those questions are very important because that's a sign. That's a sign of your heart, or of your soul, trying to guide you towards somewhere. You're trying to look for a higher reality, for a higher possibility. And that in itself is just, once you're open, that means you're receiving. Okay, so when you're open, when you open your arms to the world, you'll be received. Or actually, you will receive. Um, so that's that. So, oh, also, if you guys are interested in meditation, make sure to download my meditation story guide. I will leave the link down below also, and start meditating, start learning. So it's very simple. I define it a little differently, and I think you will find it pretty helpful if you check it out. Um, carrying negative emotions in the body is a huge thing for me. Trying to use preventative measures by putting my health first, moving forward. Yeah, I mean I feel that preventative for preventative things. I would just say start working out. That's what I always tell. It helped my girlfriend out a lot. She always tells me that after a workout session, or sometimes she goes to work out just because she's feeling emotionally distressed. Um, it gets the body moving. It's good for just expressing anything that you're carrying. Um, Also, meditation, shadow work. Uh, book a call with me. I'd like to see you. I won't even charge you because I know, I'm still practicing some things. And I could see how I can help you. Because I do appreciate you watching, and you've been following me for a while. So, If I any way I can help, I want to do that. And I think that is it. That's it for now. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But that's it for right now. Let me stop that one right there. Okay. I think that'll be it for now. So just to recap, today we just went over the healing journey. All right, we talked about emotions, emotional blocks, how your emotions affect your body, and then and we also went over the importance of emotional intelligence, how to build your emotional intelligence, and then we also talked about meditation and reflection. So that was that for you. If you, I'll see you next week, basically. All right. Stay on the lookout. I'll be uploading more stuff, more content. Follow me on Twitter. I'm about to start working on my Twitter, so I want you to follow me on my Twitter. Check out the description. Follow me on all the social medias. I'm gonna be out there. We're on the grind, so I want to help as the most I can. All right, but peace out. Love you guys. Stay lucid. All right.